On today's episode, we're going to talk about how two of the teams that were in the running for LeBron James are going to deal with the fallout of LeBron deciding to go to Philly. We're going to talk about the Miami Heat and reportedly them pivoting towards their plan B, which includes either Russell Westbrook, Bradley Beal, DeMar DeRozan, or Klay Thompson. And if any of those deals make sense at all for the Miami Heat with the shooting that they need to add, then for the Golden State Warriors, we're going to look at what they're going to do after their dream of pairing Steph Curry with LeBron James is now officially dead. On top of that, we have updates on KCP and what may be happening with him as he could be heading to the Philadelphia 76ers to help them with it being a championship caliber team. We're talking about all that plus more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA City.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of the Full Court Podcast. My name is Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow us at the Full Court YT on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into the content for today, y'all. So I want to start off talking about some of the rumors of where the Miami Heat could pivot now after missing out on LeBron James. Now, the question becomes about overall is, can the Miami Heat still build a team that could actually be a contender? You landed Giannis Antetokounmpo, which is solid. You have Bam and Giannis, which is going to give you some elite front court foundation and defense in that. And Pat Riley's already talked about still having options to add for playmaking and shooting for this team, which they're going to need both of those if they're going to be able to or do what they want to accomplish of being a championship caliber team. Pat Riley talked about it in which he said this. He talked about this. He was, on the radio, I believe, where he said this. I think in today's contemporary game, based on how the game used to be played from the inside out, this is a running game. Players are running hard to spots, just coast to coast, driving kicks, and you got players who can make open shots. When you get open shots, you got to be able to make them. And it doesn't mean that you're going to make all these contested shots and stuff like that. So we feel like we have enough shooting. We will continue to try to find players who are absolutely marksmen, and there are still some out there. But the point and the first things are to get a deal done. I think getting Tim Hardaway Jr., people forget Bobby Portis shot 45% from three last year. Davion Mitchell has become a better three-point shooter. So Pelle Larson, Andrew Wiggins can make shots. So don't underestimate what we have. But yeah, we want to have a real sniper out there too. That's always guarded by somebody. So it seems like the Miami Heat right now, which are operating as an over the salary cap team, they're still trying to find players that they can add. Now, reportedly, we have a number of names that have been mentioned as names that they could go out and get. Number one is Russell Westbrook, which we'll talk a little bit about in regards to that one. But I think this is that missing out on LeBron for the Miami Heat sucks, right? Like, this was your path of trying to add another player, add another star, to getting Giannis Antetokounmpo and make a move in regards to that one. So now it comes down to what it makes sense for some of these guys that fit, right? Now, does Russell Westbrook fit, right? He's a name that's reportedly been mentioned as somebody that they can go out and get. And he averaged 15.2 points, 6.7 assists, and 5.4 rebounds per game. While he's not a marksman that Pat Riley described, he is still somebody that does put pressure downhill, but you got to worry and question about the spacing if that ends up being the case, right? But I think overall you're looking at Russell Westbrook because of his ability to create on ball. He could be somebody still that can really be the scorer on your bench unit in regards to that if you need somebody to go out and do that. I think that people kind of counted Russell Westbrook out like he's still not an effective NBA player. Guess what he is? He started 58 of 64 games last year, shot the ball 42% from the field, 33% from three on top of that, and he averaged 15 points per game. Again, that's not the Russell Westbrook that we saw that, of course, averages over 20 points per game for his career, but that is still a guy with the assists that can get people involved and those type of things. Russell Westbrook can help do that for sure, right? But at the same time, he doesn't add the spacing that you need. So you'd be looking for him to be more of another on-ball creator when you need that, much less than a shooter. And then you have Bradley Beal, DeMar DeRozan, and Klay, right? Do those guys fit better? Bradley Beal theoretically gives you more shot creation and better shooting out on the perimeter. The question about Bradley Beal is going to be the health, right? He didn't play very many games last season. He's been on the decline now for a while now, but he's still a player that can still put up points if you need him to put up points. And there's a case to be made that he may be maybe the best fit here, maybe out of these players as far as from the shooting aspect of it. But even then, I don't think you can look at it and say for sure that he's going to do that. He's another player much like Russ who is not what he used to be. Now, he only averaged 8 points per game, but it was 6 games last year for the Clippers. The season before that, he started 38 out of 53 games. He shot the ball 38% from the field, 17 points per game to go along with 3.3 rebounds and 3.3 assists. So when you look at a player that can maybe float out more there around the outside, provide more three-point shooting. Bradley Beal does fit that. DeMar DeRozan would give you a half-court scorer or an extra reliable half-court scorer, but at the same time, having him, Bam, and Giannis Antetokounmpo on the court at the same time, that's depth. There is no spacing in that lineup at all. And maybe that's not the biggest thing here or nor there for the Miami Heat at this point, if that's where they get to, but it is somebody that you have to look for. And then you have the Klay Thompson, who gives you the spacing that you need around Bam and Giannis, of course. But at the same time with that, like, we know that Klay Thompson has been on the decline now for a while over the last couple of seasons. But I'd say this, for what you need and what you're comparing it to, it's not like you're having a 20-point-per-game scorer out there that you're really looking at in that regard anyway. You're looking at a guy that can come in, keep the defense honest, keep them glued to them in their hip. This guy that still shot 38% from three last year on 7 attempts per game. That's huge. He only took 10.6 shots per game. 7.6 of those were three-pointers. The Miami Heat can use a player that can live like that out there on the perimeter and really filter that in and provide them that spacing. I think that Klay Thompson may be the cleanest shooting fit next to Bradley Beal in regards to that one. But the thing with Klay is that you have to trade for Klay. Klay isn't somebody that you can just go out and sign like the other guys. This is somebody that you would have to trade for, which means matching salary. At a $17.1 million contract, that's not easy for the Miami Heat to match with where they are right now. So they have to weigh those things. So it could be, and like I said before, maybe you wait till Klay Thompson gets bought out at the trade deadline. Maybe you wait until it goes into the season and try to figure it out at that point rather than try to force it right now. And that's something that they can do. You don't have to get everything done right now. That's a big thing there, right? But you do have to eventually try to find something. And that's what the Heat are going to be looking for. I love hearing that Pat Riley said, like, they're trying to, buy in on other players that have shot the ball well over that time. Nikola Jovic's contract, though, technically can get you there if you want to cash in on more of your youth. We know that the Dallas Mavericks are kind of accumulating young players, so maybe that's something that you do there. But we'll see. The Miami Heat have some solid options here. I'm not saying that they're great options as far as plan Bs or anything like that, but they are very solid options. We just got to see what's going to come out of that. So I want to turn this one to you guys. When you hear that Russell Westbrook, DeMar DeRozan, Klay Thompson, Bradley Beal, these are the players that the Miami Heat now are reportedly looking into to add to this team before the start of the season. Which one do you think brings the most of what the Miami Heat actually need? And do you think that the Miami Heat can actually be a championship contender this year? I don't know. I don't have that feeling right now. But, hey, the East is wild. We've seen it before. They have one of the best coaches in the league in Eric Spoelstra. They should have some really good defense as well. I guess we'll see where it's going to come out in regard to that one. Let's talk about the other team that missed out on the LeBron sweepstakes, and that's the Golden State Warriors, right? Of course, it was a dream call anyway in regards to that. Everybody talked about it, that it's just more realistic that it could have happened than ever before. But I do think that, Golden State is still trying to give that one more swing for Steph Curry. And now at this point, right, like they can aggregate salaries since they did get under the first tax apron, which is a good thing in regards to that one. And I think when you look at their aging roster, you're probably going to re-sign Draymond Green now. You did draft Yaxel Lindenberg, who was one of the older rookies in regards to that one. And I think that a star trade that they're going to try to make, you can try to make a swing for that, but I think it has to be only if you are, and at this point too, like the thing that you have to look at, I think in regards to this is that how much of your future are you willing to mortgage, right? Because if they trade any more of their picks, the thing that they'd be looking at in regards to it is that you'd now be looking at and saying, we're just going to be terrible for 5 years after Steph goes because you're not going to have any picks for a while. And maybe that's worth it if you feel like you can really get to contending, even if it's one more time while Steph is there, right? So now it's expected as well. This just came out that Draymond Green is expected to sign a $28 million extension, now that they don't have to worry about the LeBron part of it. And, that's good for him. Shout out to him getting that deal with him. I think that that's kind of the thing in regards to that he opted out to give them a chance to sign LeBron. Now you can flip that and look at it in a different way and say that. We also heard that that Jimmy Butler has made a considerable step up in his recovery from his ACL injury. So maybe if you're the Golden State Warriors, you're hoping that the combination of those two things, if Jimmy can really get back to being himself, that you can still make a run for it, even though the Western Conference has gotten nothing but better since he went down. We'll see, right? The last dance for the Golden State Warriors has already started, right? It's already started. Steph is 38. Draymond's 36 years old, right? You got a roster that struggled to get out of the play-in. On top of that, you have Jimmy Butler, Moses Moody are expected to miss at least the start of the season recovering from their injuries. But at the same time, you can never count out Steph Curry. Steph, Dre, Steve Kerr, those guys being there. You have some solid role players around those guys, not great role players, but you look at it like Yaxel Lindenberg, Pods, right? Your Santos, right? You're trying to hope that those guys, somebody's going to develop out of that and give you a little bit more than what you're expecting, so you can still try to at least have some form of contention, I guess. But if I had to put my money on it, I doubt that the Golden State Warriors are going to be able to put a truly contending roster together with the time that Steph has left. But I commend them for giving it a try, and I commend them for looking at a player in Steph who's still playing so good at his age, and they want to give him a shot. But sometimes you can't always get what you want, and that's what may happen with the Golden State Warriors and Steph Curry. Before we get out of here, a couple of deals that could go down. Reportedly that KCP is seeking a buyout, and then with that buyout is going to turn around and plans to go sign with the Philadelphia 76ers, right? So he's negotiating a buyout with the Memphis Grizzlies right now, and then be able to go over there, join what they're doing over there in Philly. And I like the idea of that. Like, KCP is not the shooter that he once was or the defender, but he still averaged 8.4 points, 2.5 rebounds, and it's really about just continuing to build around that bench that you can there now that you have LeBron and Jaylen Brown in there. And shout out to the Philadelphia 76ers, man. They are wasting no time to try to get this thing together and make the next step. And they want to contend right away. You have Joel Embiid under contract for a little while longer. You want to get that done and especially capitalize before injuries and stuff like that. And KCP is a really solid role player, right? He's not the player that he once was, but he's still not somebody that you can completely ignore out there. The three-point shooting is falling off a cliff. After shooting 40% basically 4 years in a row, the last year being the 2023-24 season, he's shot in 34% and 31% since then. But, hopefully with the gravity of some other players, maybe he can get back closer to that. He's still a player that is active, at least on the defensive side of the ball. And like I said, perfectly solid role player to come in there and help your team out a little bit. But, that's what it's about now for the 76ers. It's about taking the fact that you got LeBron, that you got him on a crazy contract that as far as value-wise, and then try to find some useful players to continue to fill out that bench and hope that is going to help you contend. And depth is an important thing, especially for a 76ers team that, it's going to be a little bit older of a team. You have injuries to Joel Embiid, and you want to try to do as much to keep those guys healthy. There's still real pressure now with LeBron, Jaylen Brown, Maxey, Embiid, Edgecombe. Like, there's real pressure around this team, and so you want to try to find the right pieces to add to that. And I don't think anybody can be mad at that at all. So we'll see what happens in regards to that. But shout out to KCP negotiating a buyout with the Grizzlies, going to join a championship team in the Philadelphia 76ers, and we'll see what the Sixers can do, because I've already seen some wild takes in regards to the 76ers and where you have them at. I'm going to try to get all the guys together so we can do a roundtable discussion on it, because I want to talk about the East, but I want to talk about it at a high level with multiple voices on it. So I'm going to try to get those guys together sometime this weekend so we can all talk about that. But that's going to do it for today's episode, man. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys sound off in the comment section about how you feel about all the topics. Miami Heat and their plan B after missing out on LeBron. Golden State Warriors not really having a straight plan B as far as player targets, but still trying to be aggressive, still trying to fill out their roster and find the players that they can to try to give Steph a chance and opportunity here. And, we'll see if they end up cashing in that Jimmy Butler contract or something else. And then KCP, rumored to be on his way to Philly as well to pair with LeBron and what else they have going on down there. And we'll see if that ends up putting them in a place where they can contend for a title. But that's going to do it for today's episode. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode or an upload. You can follow us at the Full Court YT. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. The NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything basketball related. And I'll catch you guys the next time I feel like making a video. Probably tomorrow. Peace, y'all.
Been a presentation of the Breaks Media.